Welcome to another podcast of the 4 Degrees podcast. We are going to talk all things climate as we always do. And today we have a guest in the room. We have so many guests in 2026. Welcome.
Hi.
The year of the guests.
The year of the guests. And it's so good, guys. Today we have Mosibudi in the room.
Yes.
And we're going to take a different... we always talk about the climate science part, and we usually talk about climate and health, climate and sport. Today we have what I would want to call climate and food. So we fortunately shared the same class. We were in the same class.
Yeah.
So it's like our guests are like people we actually do know and like cool people that we know.
It's a bit like homecoming.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We were like in the preparation of the podcast. We like
Yeah.
actually had to like think twice when we started.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like over 2 years ago.
It's
like February.
crazy. It's our 30-year mark. My gosh.
It's crazy that we are now all in the same room and we're talking about like how we're experts in these certain fields that we have ventured into. And
Experts.
I would.
Yeah.
I mean,
guys, don't be
well, we have
humble.
we
You
have
know
a
quite a lot.
we have a
as compared to
food
2024
security
January.
expert here today.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess with the journey of research, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything at all. So this
Yeah.
has been a humbling process, to say
And
the
that's
least.
okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So we're gonna ask you a couple of questions about what is your background. I know we might know this from the class,
Yeah.
but we would want our audience to also know our guests.
Okay.
What is your background and what made you sign up for ACDI Masters even?
Okay. Well, my name is Mosibudi, as we know. I originally studied environmental sciences at the University of Witwatersrand. And my interest and passion for climate change really spawned from my exposure to environmental science.
Yeah.
And I also realized that upon learning more about climate change, how much there was a lack of climate education on campus. I was particularly also surprised because it was a tertiary institution. So I thought that we'd be meeting each other at a certain level when it comes to awareness in certain things, right? And climate change was something I thought was particularly poignant and interesting to not only learn for myself, but like engage with others as well.
Yeah.
In such a way where it's meaningful, meeting people where they're at and then building from there.
Yeah.
And then I did my internship at Paganani Environmental. And then one day while I was working, I was like, let me shoot my shot applying for my master's at UCT.
Yeah.
And surprisingly got an email back. I was actually inquiring to Gina about the process and all
Yeah.
that. And then she referred me to Marika, and then the rest was history.
Amazing.
Here we are
And
now.
yeah, wow. Marika, we have so many people to introduce as well.
Yeah.
Marika was our course convener.
Yeah.
And Gina, I believe, was head of department at
Yeah.
ACDI together with Mark. Is that
Yeah,
right?
director.
Mark New,
ACDI.
director. Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. So it's funny that you say that environmental sciences is your background. For the longest time, you'll know that I thought you studied anthropology.
Yes. For the
And it's like,
longest
this
time.
is so interesting. So now you're doing climate change.
Yeah.
But then your research, I guess, like does tie into, I guess, like broadly anthropogenic
Yeah.
themes,
Yeah.
biological themes.
Yeah.
When it comes to food, I know you also mentioned climate literacy. Was that something that you try to like focus on or like own that skill during the masters? What was like what's your favorite part of those 2 years? Because we had some courses together, but then
Yeah.
also each of us had some
Had our own
space
thing
to
going on.
choose
Yeah.
other topics.
Climate literacy, I think I fully engaged with it and I delved myself in that world during my time at WITS. And then during my master's, I was like, yeah, I need to really have some sort of credential backing what I'm about and what I'm saying, because the work I was doing was climate justice and advocacy related. And I can see why you thought I was into anthropology, because I was looking at the social aspect of like our relationship with climate change as a people, as communities. So I see what you mean there. Even when I like started the ACDI journey, I was like, climate science was, I think, one of our first subjects we had to cover. So I was like, oh, now I actually have to learn about climate patterns and then climate modeling. And it was just more of a technical scientific way of thinking, which is just as important, especially when you give information to people. So yeah, that's how I found a sense of a synthesis in that experience. And then my personalized journey was more about food systems. It was climate modeling. It was why am I not remembering the other subjects I took on? I think those were my main ones.
And mitigation,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Those are the main girls.
Yeah.
You know. Sorry. Sorry for girls, but I forgot the other subject that I took. But my main focus was more so on the food systems aspect of things. Yeah.
We did take a class together. We did take the food security class together. And one thing I always used to notice about Mosibudi was that she loved to talk about like the climate education part, but she also did really like to understand what the people on the ground are into, which then ties to exactly the work that you ended up doing for your thesis, which we're going to talk about now. So tell us a bit about the topic, the main objectives of your study before I preempt anything about it. And tell us, we'll get to the results, but tell us about the background of the study and everything.
Okay, so my study was focusing on the urban food systems, starting there, and then the informal aspects of urban food systems. I was particularly interested in how we organize informally, because the informal economy makes up for most of the economy on this continent. Like 60 to 70% of our economy is informal, so it's undocumented. Not completely undocumented. We're trying to get as much data as possible from that world, but it feels like we have our own way of going about things as Africans. And when we try to develop that, there's kind of like a global north perspective in terms of how we decide to engage and go about that, like our idea of economic activity, what that looks like, is it formally recognized, etc. So that's the premise of my thesis, and then also feeding into the fact that this world is like providing food access for vulnerable populations in the urban center, so marginalized communities, migrants, etc. Because not only does it provide food access, it also brings culturally specific foods as well into those spaces. So that's like the background of my research. It's looking into food systems, the importance of it, who is it relevant for, and is it formally recognized? If not, why? And our relationship with informality from a governance standpoint.
Is there, I guess, like the general notion of informality is somewhat negative compared to formal sector, but we don't. Or perhaps I was about to say we don't really know what either means. Like, do we? Why is it important to make this differentiation? And would it be better for some of that informality to be formalized?
I think it's more so about recognizing that something exists and respecting that and organizing around that. As you said, that we do have a particular perspective on informality, so much so that I would say growing up, due to media exposure, I would make informality synonymous with illegality. Like something outside of the law, something that leads to punitive consequences. And it's interesting because it's like when we see things from that standpoint and we try to fix things, it's like from what perspective and from what kind of intention do we come from when we do that? When we arrest people for selling on the side of the road, it's like, where are we coming from with that? Where's the empathy? Where is the actual relational aspect of it? Because this is someone that considers themselves an entrepreneur, trying to put food on the table. But then when we follow rules and regulations blindly, it's like, well, what you're doing is against the law. So that's where there's a point of contention behind the formality and informality and how we go about it, right? So I would say like my paper really covers that. Like how it's gone about from a governance perspective, who's involved, and are the traders like included? Are they empowered in the process when it comes to meeting of the minds in terms of how we utilize a space and organize around it? So
that's really interesting, and it's a very deep topic. I also like can relate like from a lot of like this informal, this formal, because I come from Zimbabwe, and our economy is mostly informal. I would say I am not sure I can go about all my groceries without, like, I think maybe 70% of the things that I buy in the house
Yeah,
is from an informal market.
exactly.
And it's because it's like that. But like what you are talking about also is that there is a need to recognize that and then plan around that. So now, what was the study area? We can start with that. What were you focusing on, and what were the steps that you took into like diving deep into such a deep topic where now there is a lot that's happening, but you also want to find out how
That's
things are going.
nice.
Yeah.
Study area was in Bellville.
Mm.
It was the Bellville Market. I would say, as far as informality goes, Bellville Market is quite recognized.
That's Cape Town.
Yes.
Yeah.
Northern suburbs of
Yeah.
Cape Town.
Mm.
And so how I ended up really getting into that world was I decided that I wanted to do an intensive ethnographic observation. So I wanted to like spend time at the market, observe the practices, how the traders and consumers communicate with each other.
Yeah.
In the mornings, what are the traders doing? Midday, what are the traders doing? Closing times, what are the traders doing?
Yeah.
And because specifically with my research, I was looking into how organic waste was being utilized in the space,
Yeah.
and circular economy practices in that regard. I was also looking into that, looking into the practices of the traders relating to that, and also like how the space was kept by AfriFood Links, which we're going to speak more about later into the podcast. But basically my case study was looking into AfriFood Links's implementation practices when it comes to market upgrades.
Yeah.
So they were basically looking into how they can better support the traders.
Yeah.
And then that's where my paper comes in, where it's like, okay, you're engaging with the traders. City of Cape Town is also intending to engage with the traders through this initiative. How is that being gone about?
Yeah.
And are the traders fairly included into the process?
Yeah.
So it was through the lens of collaborative governance. So I did ethnographic research, I did surveys, and then I also did interviews, more in-depth interviews with the traders, and then I also interviewed one of the project managers of Greater Tygerberg Partnership, which is like they were also working with AfriFood Links, and as well as a waste coordinator to get more insight into the space from their perspective and then also from the traders' perspective as well.
That is such a rich research.
Yeah.
Unlike the ethnographic.
That's why I'm
you
so
just
busy
sit-
with
I
it.
was- You're like
my master's period is here. I'm already going beyond because it takes a lot. Yeah,
it takes a lot.
Reaching
Like you
out, all
sat
that.
down through it. You were being part of the community,
Yeah.
essentially, for a couple of weeks, and then you get to learn how things flow.
Yeah.
You get to see it for what it is, and then you then do the surveys, and then you get to the interviews.
It makes me wonder why I'm actually still doing my research. It should have been so much quicker.
But there's a lot that you're doing. There's a lot
Philip's
that
research
you're
was hard, guys. Please don't listen to him.
It was a lot of pages.
Like,
That's
I
all
take a
can
break
say.
after reading the title. I'm like, yo, okay. Yeah.
But
It has a lot of pages.
you're touching on so many different aspects, and you mentioned so many like individual topics, circularity, for example, waste management, and that's something that's in the public debate so important is food waste.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like how much food are we throwing away from our fridges? How much food is an average supermarket just not using, and usually how much of that is going to actual waste and not utilized in a different way, again for potential regulations, health and safety considerations, that just may not reflect current needs or necessities. So I'd be very curious to understand how that aspect is approached in the informal sector that you looked at, and also what the initiatives of, let's say, the City of Cape Town are to engage with the market and with the traders. What are their goals?
Yeah.
So I would say City of Cape Town was more involved at the beginning of the process. And then as time went on, there were constraints I would say the waste coordinator did communicate that there's financial constraints with really fully carrying out the initiative, or like the sustainability of the initiative is right now a hurdle they're trying to overcome. City of Cape Town was more involved, so I would say their objectives was making sure that people are included in how the space is organized. And they do have specific project outputs, like for example they want to implement edible landscaping. But right now what they were able to do with regards to specifically where my research is like focused on is the circular economy activity. And basically what they would do is during the month they would collect organic food waste routinely and then take it to, I think, an ablution facility, if I'm not mistaken, and then that would be in turn be turned into compost. And then composting was going to help with vegetable gardens, fruit gardens, etc. So there's like a whole circular process with regards to organic food waste that the traders are selling. And before, the waste actually used to pile up at the corners, like street corners and all that. Some of the traders said that they used to give their leftover goods that they cannot sell anymore to unhoused people. Some kids would pull through at the end of the market days, collect some food and then go about their days. They still do that. And then another portion of the waste is collected as well by Greater Tygerberg. Then Greater Tygerberg would hire people who are unemployed for the day or for the month to help with that process, the waste collection process. And then they'll get like some money at the end of the day as well. So they try to find different ways to really make this process for the people. And when you touched on how people have like immediate needs, but then there's also these objectives that are related to like circularity. It's interesting because when I came into the space interacting with the traders, a lot of them did communicate that they're not really concerned about the circular activity. They're participating in it because there are people there and they're saying, hey, do you have any waste that we can collect and go about our day? So they're like, oh yeah, we're assisting, we're part of the process. Some traders could communicate what it's about, other traders could not. It all depended on how many years they spent at the market. And then also like their personal attitudes towards it. So some traders would take pride in having a stall and they consider themselves businessmen, businesswomen. So they would like to leverage out of the space, so they would know the process and they'll be like, yeah, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for example, there are people here that collect the waste. There are people here that clean this area because they take pride in their stall and like how it's received by consumers. So they do make the most out of that. And then there are other traders that are like, I don't know. Then there are other traders that would say, I'm not comfortable speaking to you because my boss is not here. So there are some people that own like multiple stalls and then hire people to be a part of the trading process. So with regards to immediate needs, one of the things that arose from interviewing them and doing some surveys was sanitation, water access. So toilet and water access was the main concern. And there was a sense of frustration in that regard because when I was asking questions maybe related to that or just, they would be frustrated because it's like, you're asking these questions, you're engaging with us, are you going to do anything about these issues? And it's very interesting because a part of the initiative is like when it comes to market upgrades, sanitation is a part of that. So it's like, okay, we're introducing some aspects of the initiative and then other aspects are being neglected, and then those are the things that people actually need, which is infrastructure upgrade. So yeah, they are frustrated in that regard. It kind of de-incentivizes people to want to be part of the circular aspect of things because it's like, I want to wash my fruits, I want to be able to package this properly. I want to take pride in what I'm selling and that whole process. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
100%. No, but super interesting. I'm trying to while you talk, I'm trying to figure out my next question.
I'm thinking of a lot of things.
Yeah.
I thought of a lot of things.
Do we have a time limit today?
Maybe we don't. Maybe we
we
don't.
don't.
Take
said
it away.
2 hours, right?
Yeah.
But
We can do it.
I want to talk about like how there was, obviously I'm always like, I make sure I fix my algorithm, and on my algorithm obviously there's stuff about climate change, there's stuff about
On the gram, you say.
on the gram.
On the gram.
Yes. So I fixed my algorithm obviously to see stuff like from the UNEP, and
Nice.
there was a post about like how food waste is also connected to like climate change. Like if we waste so much food, then maybe we actually don't need that much food. But also now we're tying to like it's actually someone's life that like gets to be funded by food waste, for example. And there is also stuff about there is not enough food in some areas, right, where that food could potentially go. But that's like a whole thing. Then there is the circular economy, that a circular economy will make life so much easier if it works theoretically, if you get what I mean. But there is all these intertwined things.
That's
There
true.
is a trader, there is someone who works for the main trader, then there is the store, there's someone who sweeps by the store, there's all of these things. Then there is climate change.
Yeah.
Then there is, I want to be resilient when it comes to
In that regard, yeah.
in that regard. So there's all these things like interlinks, so many interlinks. I wonder if you like, for some reason you were like, did you ever think it was too easy to, or it's very difficult? It's either too easy or it's very difficult to fix. Like this is, like these two worlds cannot be like,
Yeah.
was it ever like a time you were like, no man, what is really going on? How are we going to go about it? Or you're also like, it's a step by step. We'll get there when we get there.
It's more of a step-by-step thing. There are multiple ways, I would say, we could address everything that you just mentioned, because I guess that's where intersectionality comes into play. And there's no like one perfect solution to address everything. I think everyone should just play their part with whatever they're passionate about, and then it will feed into the overarching vision that we have as a collective. I would say I forgot what the question was. Sorry.
Yeah, no, just the question that was it. Did you think it was too hard? But you already
yeah.
did answer it. That it's like a step by step. If everyone does their part,
Literally,
then I
yeah.
think it's the same with the main problem, like the main problem, which is climate change. That if everyone actually does their part, then we
Literally.
can get somewhere.
There's a cute little spot for everyone, I would say. Like when climate education
I
was...
want a cute spot.
You want a cute spot?
We
You
are
also
the
do
cute
like
spot.
climate change with philosophy, I would say,
Yeah.
like humanities. I see you do that. I see you writing and speaking in that regard. Okay, this is like personal
Yeah.
conversations coming into the podcast. But
So, yeah, sorry. No, exactly. Perhaps like adding on to what where this conversation is already going. What aspect of, I guess, climate change or climate risk did you look at in your research? Or did you
did I?
investigate that side of the market coin?
Yeah, climate resilience was like the main aim of my game at the beginning. Then by proposal stage, they were like, yo, this is PhD girl. This is a lot. There's a lot that you just told us in like your presentation. So you're going to have to slim it down. And every time I like would slim down my paper and like hyper focus, climate resilience was becoming less and less relevant because it felt like there were more pressing things, immediate things to address when it came to that whole world.
Yeah.
But I still like introduced it in like key informant interviews. But I remember like the project manager of Greater Tygerberg, his name is Nuruddin. He was like, we're not really looking at targets related to climate resilience. We're more looking into infrastructure upgrade, what that looks like, and if the needs of the traders are met.
Yeah.
And when we try to introduce new practices, how open are they to it? So he was also speaking more from a KPI perspective.
Yeah.
Than a climate change, way of going about things. But when I did consider climate resilience, I was thinking about like how traders are able to weather climate change. How are they able to still be able to meet their profit margins regardless of what's happening when it comes to climate. And yeah, some of them would communicate, okay, our stalls don't have like an official structure that we could use. We have to set things up ourselves. We have to kind of innovate in the moment in that space to make a shelter, protect ourselves from the heat, protect ourselves from the rain and all that. They had to make those measures for themselves. Sometimes from a governance perspective, they would bring in resources like crates for the fruits and vegetables, buckets as well to put the waste away, netting to cover the trading bays, and then they would use the storage facilities available, and that was also part of the initiative. However, the traders did communicate, most of them did communicate that the storage facilities are expensive. So there's a lack of access there. Climate resilience in that regard, I did try to look into it. People did touch on it, but I would say the name of the game was infrastructure. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's the thing. You get in this phase. You get in this phase, and like you are looking into like climate resilience, and I want people to be so educated about climate change so that in the end they know exactly how they can weather this whole thing.
Weather the storm.
Weather the storm. They can the heat.
Yeah,
Literally and figuratively.
And then you get there and they're like, I don't need
it's like circular.
I don't
like
need the education now.
Yeah.
Like what's pressing is the infrastructure, which also ties to like, you're adapting as well. Because I'm pretty sure the pressing thing about infrastructure is you actually want a structure that you can get into. You're safe from the sun. You're safe from extreme heat. You're safe from the rain. And if you're having more hot days, you get more frustrated because you need infrastructure. You're not thinking about why the sun is too hot
Honestly,
for like 3 days in a row. You're thinking about
right now, today.
right now, where am I? And Philip, did you want to say something?
I'm just saying the sun, just like the sun is not getting hotter, but the sun itself.
Okay,
Wow.
The sun wasn't
I think, sorry. It's like it's such a great example though for a response to a certain issue, which is, let's say, infrastructure for organizing the market in a sense that it may be economically more feasible for the traders to work. That also has a beneficial effect from a climate mitigation or an adaptation perspective. Provide infrastructure, as you said, let's say, with shading that will also protect from direct sunlight. Not only the individuals, because in that case then climate change can be a health hazard for the individual traders, but it also directly affects the longevity and the shelf life of the produce.
Yes.
And then it's a climate and food security issue. It's so interesting how this like ties together, and how maybe you can, with like one response, also address others. It's really interesting to like think of climate risk in that, even from like an infrastructure perspective.
Because I can imagine what happened on that hot day. How much food was wasted.
Yeah, on top of what would like may usually be
wasted.
then discarded. Did you in your discussions with Greater Tygerberg or the vendors, I guess, the city of Cape Town, did they think about climate risk in that regard as well? I think you may have alluded to it, that it probably wasn't the case.
It wasn't the focus. It was if our efforts is going to address that, then that's an added benefit, more so than it being like a primary objective. I would say the initiative also valued infrastructure focus and upgrading in that regard. I think when it happens is where it can be a little tricky, because it's like, okay, circular economy practices implemented, but water access, toilet access. But it's also interesting because earlier on in the year last year, there was an activation at Bellville Market, like the official introduction of like, here we are as AfriFood Links coming into the space, and this is what we intend on doing. So during that time, there was water and toilet access. So I think it's inconsistent. So I don't think it's something that was like an issue from the jump, and in implementation they would like not addressing it. I think they try to address it, and then maybe like months down the line, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back type of situation where, okay, the toilets are locked again because someone needs to fix the toilets. Okay, do we have money to fix the toilets? So it goes back to financial constraints. The sustainability of the project, as I said earlier, is currently a point of contention in that regard. So, yeah.
I wanted to say I'm triggered, but I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of triggered because there is a lot of things that can be inconsistent, but there's also financial constraints that would tie into it, especially in informal. I don't want to call them informal food markets now. I just want to call them food markets.
Yeah.
In a food market.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that is needed, and then there is, I wouldn't want to say it's a lot of money, but it's also how is it prioritized. But it's probably not because it's called informal. And then it ties to like so many things that now you get to, like, people won't go to the food market because they will be like, it's dirty there. But then also it's where they get their food. They actually need to get their food there. And then okay, when we come and then we fix things for like 3 months, and then everything goes well, like things start going well, then there is financial constraint, which is real. I am not saying that a financial constraint is mainly because someone didn't give money to this and that. I'm just saying priorities when it comes to things that like happen, immediate needs, like you're saying, then I think it has to be really be put at the top of the chart. And then that's when you realize that, you get in there and then you say, do you know about climate change? And I'm like, I'm not really worried about that.
Right now, yeah.
And
interestingly enough, like where the traders would get their food, a lot of the times it's the same sources as where formal supermarket outlets would also get their food. So the idea around informality, when you actually do your research around it, you'll find like the supply chain all comes from like central points. And it makes you rethink about branding, business, etc. Because I know some people would say, I wouldn't shop at ShopRite, but I'll shop at Checkers. But if you look at it from a business standpoint, ShopRite owns Checkers. So same kind of analogy, you can apply it to informality in this regard, where it's like, you think something is informal, you're like, I could never, because again, it's synonymous with other things, there's certain connotations that come with it. But when you actually do your research or your homework, you're like, I actually want to support the locals now because it's not so different from what I did before, and now it's more affordable. See, the function of informal spaces is to fill in the gaps, because the vulnerable populations like can't afford food or an X amount of food for a certain price. So that's where informal spaces start coming up, because these are business owners recognizing that there's a need here, and they're able to fill that gap. They're able to provide access and culturally specific foods. So there's also respect around that as well, because when you look into that space, you'll find that most of the traders are migrant workers, non-South Africans, women as well, lots of women in the space. So there's a lot to consider when it comes to that. Definitely, as I was writing my paper, I learned how much more beneficial it is for you to be more localized lifestyle-wise and your choices, because it's good to know where your money is going and who you're supporting exactly.
So that is what you would tell someone on the other side, because I was about to ask you what is, if you can, maybe 1 or 2 lessons or main messages you'd want to, from your dissertation, from even just, because I think sometimes you have your dissertation and then you have your life experiences. It all ties together, that you start learning a lot of things, like your main messages to anyone who will be listening about, from your thesis, from your life, tying into all of this. What would you say?
As I said before, supporting local is a good thing. Doing your homework with food supply chains, where things come from, how they're handled, who's involved, knowing where your money goes, I think is something I learned from the project that I think people can apply. Also, the importance of climate education, better resource use, and especially getting into that with the youth, I would say. When I was a child, on DSTV, when we were still like glued to our screens on TV, now it's the phones, I feel like kind of replaced that experience. There was like this advertisement campaign that was consistently aired, called Reduce, Reuse, Recycle. Reduce, Reuse. And you guys know it. You see, it's like deeply ingrained in us because as a kid, we're conditioned to really value circularity in some regard.
Yeah.
So I feel like we still need to keep doing that. I feel like we still need to promote some better ways within which we can engage with our resources, where consumerism as well, like where do we buy things, do we have like, are we engaging in research with regards to our buying and spending habits, supporting locally. I think this paper ultimately taught me a lot about intentionality in education and the importance of that. Another important like aspect of the paper that I found particularly interesting was, I feel like in the global south and on the African continent, we seem to have like a little bit of tension between kind of having the government address things like unemployment, but then also address other aspects such as climate change. There seems to be like, these two topics seem to be divorced from each other when we talk about it at a national scale or continental scale, sub-Saharan scale. And I feel like when we discuss things as inherently separate, the average South African or the average person, when they're exposed to this type of information, will kind of be pushed to value the one thing or the other, but avoiding to see how everything is interconnected. Yeah. Right? So that's also another aspect of my paper that I found was particularly interesting, because obviously upon the interviewing process with the traders, their concern is immediate needs, employment. I'm trying to put food on my table, so I'm making the most out of the space in front of me that regard, right? So then it's like, okay, what do you know about sustainable resource use? You know, then it's like, first they'll also comment on your English. Like they'll be like, oh, you guys are coming here from like your white man universities. Like there was an older lady that was so annoyed with me because she thinks that my positionality as a researcher is futile to her experience, because it's, are you solving the issues that I'm having now? Or you're here to just collect information and go about your day? So some of them were a little bit sharp in their response to me, but I understand, because that's where the whole, there's kind of like a disconnect in the way we think about things, in what I was speaking about earlier. So
wow,
amazing.
I'm like, yeah, I do understand. Like someone is gonna go like, oh, there you come with the climate change stuff.
Yeah.
Or there you go with the sustainability talk.
Yeah.
So going, like looking ahead, I guess you're about to eventually submitting your thesis. What are you currently thinking about? I mean, you've in your research you've touched on so many different things. Are you looking to explore one of those avenues further? Would you like to disseminate the findings of your thesis differently, make it more actionable? What are the thoughts you have going forward once the degree is done and we're all graduating?
I'm
eventually.
so excited to speak on it. I think that's my main thing, like speaking engagements related to this, which will primarily be like urban food systems. I don't have any specific avenue that I'm interested in through this particular research topic, except I'm just further incentivized to connect with people on the ground, to be honest. And that's always been my thing. Climate advocacy, climate justice, marginalized communities, that has always been my thing. So it also made the research process easier, because coming in from that angle is intrinsically motivating for me to just see things through, because I know it's helping someone along the journey. So I want to keep doing that. Will it be food systems related? I'm not sure. I feel like my life overarching journey, it's a part of the journey, but I don't think it's the end point. I just want to speak more about it. I want to get more into the flow of that. I want to connect to other people, other professionals, other researchers that touch on these things, that have written articles, reports, etc., that do this for a living. And I just want to support locally.
Let's go.
Amazing. That's the beauty of a journey, that it's not static. You can move wherever you want to.
Wow.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank
was
you,
Oh,
fun.
this was yeah. I'm like thought provoked. I'm like,
I was so
okay, I'm
nervous at
gonna
the
go
beginning.
home and then think about like, how do I buy my things? Have I been thinking about it? Because I remember also during the time that we were doing the classes, I was very intentional about like knowing stuff about the food that I was
Yeah.
buying and everything.
And then
But
you
along the way, I was like, I'm lost the grip.
became too comfortable.
I became too comfortable. I'll just run to the store and then just pick it up and
Yeah,
like rush
convenience.
home
Yeah.
and everything. But like you say, like constantly being educated about something actually helps you to be like to have it at the top of your head.
Yeah.
Reduce, reuse, recycle. So be intentional. Be intentional about the food. Be
Circularity.
intentional about what you're buying, what you're doing. But thank you so much for coming on our podcast and
Thank you as
talking
well,
about
Thank you,
guys.
Sibu.
food.
Yeah.
This
We
was
really
lovely.
did enjoy your company. We are going to end the podcast on this, and thank you, Mosibudi, for joining us. We'll see you next
Thank you.
time.
Tune in,
Bye.
subscribe, everything.
Yes, please subscribe, like, comment. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.